Why don't they teach this in school?
Because it's a Marxist system. I hate to say that. If you study Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, and Mao, the central bank is Marx. And Lenin said, if you want to destroy the economy, you want to destroy capitalism, debauch the currency. So in 1971, just before I went to Vietnam, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. But they don't teach you that. You see, our system is communist. And I hate to say that because I'm a Marine. I went to Vietnam twice. I fought for this country, went to military school. Like I said, my family were locked in internment camps. And today they're talking about reparations for the blacks. I mean, give me a break. My family didn't get reparations. They took all their land, they took their houses, they took everything from them. But what history doesn't tell you is that Hitler rose to power on reparations. Why don't they teach us that stuff? So that's why I learned at military school. So today I hear all the blacks talking, man, racism is terrible. You've experienced it, I've experienced it, And racism is it's a sin of the soul, spiritual. It's spiritual to judge a man or a woman by their skin. That's horrible. But anyway, if you study Marx, Lenin, Hitler, and Mao, you'll see it all over the school system. That's what today's postmodernist education, and postmodernist education actually started in 1930. When out of the Frankfurt School in Germany, they moved over to Columbia University. And Columbia University is the headquarters for Marxism. But they don't tell you that. And so the Teachers College at Columbia University is where the Frankfurt School set up in 1930, which is Marxism.
Wow. And another thing that I found was really interesting, I was reading something that you wrote, because millennials nowadays, young people, one of their biggest liabilities.
Student loans.
Student loans.
Yep.
And
that was Obama. Obama's a hardcore Marxist. I'm not a racist by calling him that, but he is. Look at Obamacare. What was Stalin who said, medicine is the archstone of socialism, socialized medicine.
Wow.
And education fits into that same category. That's why, going back to what you and I are taught.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in school with all these rich white kids in Hawaii, right? Just because of the way the lines fell and, the school districts and all this.
Yeah.
My classmates are all these white guys who are rich. And I'm this Asian guy who's poor. And my old man, poor dad, PhD, poor, helpless, desperate, is saying, you've got to get a high-paying job. As a school teacher, I said, Dad, you're still not rich. And so I wanted to know why the white guys were rich and the Asian guys were poor.
Yeah.
And then India, as you know, is those same English sons of a bitches who took over India. The British Empire, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Remember those days?
Yeah, so you talk about August 15th, 1971,
yeah.
Worst day for the dollar.
Yeah.
What's funny is my grandfather, as I was growing up, told me about how August 15th was the day that he lost faith in the government.
Yep.
My family is from a state in India called Punjab. And when that partition happened in 1947,
right,
they split up the state of Punjab, and the government lied to the people in Punjab
Correct.
who were living there, my family.
Yeah.
And so my grandparents, when they found out that the line was not going to be where it was, my grandparents lost everything. They lost their home, they lost family members. My grandfather saw people being killed, and that happened on August 15th, 1947. And then 24 years later, the same day, the United States
took the dollar off the gold standard. Nixon did.
That's crazy.
As not only that, is when I went to military school, so we studied different types of history. You look at the American flag, it's the flag of the British East India Company. The sun never sets on the British Empire. So Hawaii was a British Empire, India, Australia, New Zealand, America. It's really interesting if you study history.
It is.
Not from the academic side.
They probably call you a conspiracy theorist.
Of course.
Are you?
No, I'm a historian. I like history. But See, when I came back from Vietnam in 1973, I got spit on, I got hit by eggs and all this by these hippies who went through the Woodstock generation, my own, baby boom generation. And here I am. I just lost a lot of friends and all this. We're fighting, we're killing communists in Vietnam. It was horrible. You know who's killed the most people in history? Communists. And that's who we're fighting. So Americans fight against people who murder people. So the sad thing about it is that we have a history that's not history. It's massaged. It's fabricated.
Well, they say the winners write the history books.
Correct. And so that's why you look at the American flag. It's the flag. That's why I love talking to you, because we're brothers here. Hawaii was taken over by the English. India was taken over by Australia, South Africa. It's the sun never sets in the British Empire. Well, why don't they teach us that stuff? Why is the American flag? And they say, "Oh, Betsy Ross sewed it." Bullshit. Look at the flag of the British East India Company. You'll see the American flag. I'm trying to say something. 1930, the Frankfurt School out of Germany, which was Marxist, moved to Columbia University Teachers College, and that's where it started in America. I'm a student of history. It's like, there was a guy named General Patton. We studied the great generals. Patton was a great general because he led from the front. Most generals led from the bunker, in the rear. That's why Biden, and he ran for president, he was hiding in his basement. He's a bunker guy. And Trump ran from the front. He had millions of people cheering and screaming for them. But the way it's run now is, I call him Basement Biden. He hides in his basement. He doesn't say crap. And Trump loses.
So are you not happy with the way that President Biden is running the country?
What happened in Afghanistan is treason. All of those weapons that were taken, $850 billion worth of it, is now going to be used against the state of Israel. It's one of our last allies in that area. I'm a military guy. I have killed people. I've had my friends killed. And Americans sit here and just go, "Oh, what's on YouTube tonight?" Or "What's on television?" And we sit here with sanitized, sterilized education. So I sit in this room here, and you can look around. I call this a fishbowl, but these are my heroes here, the people that stood up.
You have Albert Einstein, Martin
Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Nez Perce, Chief Joseph, the Nez Perce Indians. These guys stood up. They got cut down also. So I refuse to be cut down. You can come in. People have tried to kill me before. I don't really care. In Vietnam,
you're not worried about that? You're not worried
Vietnam,
about
I went down 3 times. They couldn't kill me there. So I'm just speaking out. And this is the time now. Because I think some people, about probably 2 out of 10, 20%, realize that something's wrong in America. And I'm a student of Karl Marx, 1848. He and Engels wrote a book called the Communist Manifesto. The last line in the Communist Manifesto is the abolition of property. No private property. Everything is owned by the state. And the way they get you through that is by inflation and taxation. They're both taxes. So Biden just raised the taxes on doctors, I think 20%. I think that's kind of funny. But now 50% of a doctor's income goes to taxes. And a capitalist like me pays no taxes. Trump pays no taxes. And it angers people. Instead of saying, well, how do you guys do that? I mean, how can I sit here talking to you and tell people I don't pay taxes? How come I'm not taken off to jail?
Yeah, aren't you a greedy, rich, horrible human being for not paying taxes?
I like my money. I don't want those communists in Washington, D.C. to take my money. I don't like them taking my money. I don't like being manipulated by the government, which is Marxist.
But is it you that's doing something wrong? I mean, you're not doing anything illegal. The tax code
Would I be telling you I don't pay taxes if I was a criminal?
I went to law school, obviously, because when my parents found out that I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor, they were like, you have to at least become an attorney. And
did they teach you about tax?
They did. Well, kind of.
How to not pay tax?
Not really.
Okay, that's what they didn't teach you that
But
either.
I did read your book before going into law school. So I tried to focus my law on business and tax law. And my tax professor, very interesting, before the first day of class, sent out an article about how rich people legally evade taxes.
There's a difference between evade and avoid, isn't there?
Yeah, and it was very interesting.
What's the difference between evade and avoid as an attorney?
Well, avoid, you're doing it legally. Evade, you're doing something wrong.
Yes. What I do is I avoid, I don't evade.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, here's a video about investing in cryptocurrency that I think you'll love, and while you're at it, download our free guide on how to start generating passive income. And as always, keep hustling.
So they want you to keep in the system, devalue your savings, devalue your working salaries to try and keep this system alive